Welcome back to the Jackson Neill Sports Podcast here on Thursday, April 4th, 2019. Have an awesome interview for you guys today with Chuck Freimund from 105.7 FM, The Fan, out in Milwaukee. He does the mornings over there, 6 to 10 a.m. for that station. He's on Talking the Brewers today. And remember, you can catch this podcast on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify. Basically, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, this is there. Also, check out the Jackson Neill Podcast website, jacksonneillpodcast.com, to stay up to date on all of the latest episodes. So today I bring on Chuck Freimund from 105.7 FM, The Fan, out in Milwaukee, to talk about this Brewers team. Right now, the Brewers have started out 6-1. They're first in the NL Central. And if you know anything about this upcoming baseball season, you'll know that Milwaukee is one of the teams to look out for here in the MLB. A World Series contender. Chuck and I talk about that. And we also touch on how this team's offseason prepared this year for success, coming off last year's amazing year. Christian Yelich, all of that great stuff about the Milwaukee Brewers and everything you need to know to get ready and know about this team as they look to compete in 2019. All right, so just how would you describe the Brewers' offseason?
Their offseason, I thought they made some good moves. They made a move that I didn't expect them to go out and do. And I'm sitting on my couch one winter night, and they go out and get Yasmani Grandal, and I thought it was a joke because we saw, what Grandal did in the postseason against Milwaukee last year, and I'm like, man, that's terrible. And they had to bench him, and but I've come around to that, and I come around to thinking that's going to be a pretty good move. When he got off to a slow start, he got a couple of hits the other day. He's still looking for his first stinger, but I think that, I like that move, man. I thought it was a good move for him and a good move for the Brewers, considering he turned down that deal with the Mets. But, I still think right now at this point, Jackson, they're missing that one guy in the bullpen to help out Josh Hader. We saw Wilson come in on Thursday and get the job done in a closer's role, but they need Jeffers to return back to the Jeremy Jeffers we all know it is, and if he doesn't, they might be a man short in that bullpen.
Mm-hmm. And especially with the bullpen, nowadays it's so important when it comes to postseason success.
Oh, yeah. Look at the Cubs this year. Cubs, bad bullpen last year. And failure, I don't know, they won 95 games last year with a bad bullpen, and this year they can't get out of their own way. The bullpen is causing fires everywhere. And, yeah, you better have the bullpen. The bullpen was the MVP of the Brewers last year. I know Yelich got the MVP of the league, but to me, that bullpen as one big conglomerate was the MVP of the team. Because you don't have that bullpen, you don't win all those close games last season.
Mm-hmm. So after the offseason, the Brewers just had, they're already starting off pretty well, 6-1, first in the NL Central. What do you think are some reasonable expectations for this team this season?
I think they're going to be. I picked them to win the division, and I think anytime I picked them last year, and I picked them again this year, and I think the immediate knee-jerk reaction on the national scene is, man, they're picking Milwaukee, and it's like, why not Milwaukee? Why not us? Mm-hmm. Now, I got a little disgusted last year, Jackson. I'm watching the MLB Network, and they're talking about who can meet in the World Series, and this is right before the playoffs are starting. It was like the day before the Brewers are playing Colorado in that wild card game, and it says, well, and they're going around the table there with Harold Reynolds and guys like that. And who'd be the dark horse? When the guys say, well, I think it might have Brian Kenny. Well, Milwaukee, they might be a dark horse. Dark horse? They're the best record of the National League. So I'm picking Milwaukee again this year. I still think they're laying in the weeds. Don't think the Phillies, don't think the Dodgers. I know the Red Sox are off to a slow start, but they're going to be one of the better teams as well. But I still think Milwaukee. I get tired of these national guys downplaying the Brewers, and I really think, I'm just not saying this because, I grew up a Brewer fan, but I've covered this team. I've been around this team for a little bit here in my life, and if I didn't think they were any good, I'd tell you. But this is a damn good team, man. They're gonna be another fun summer. But I also think the rest of the division is going to be good. I'm not going to count the Cubs just yet. The Cardinals, they won their final two games in Pittsburgh. They're going to have a good season. Cincinnati's not hitting right now. They're going to get going. The Pirates, a little iffy start for them. But I think this is the best division of baseball, and the Brewers are going to win the best division of baseball.
So there you go. But and so you think they're going to win the division. What would you say in terms of postseason expectations for this team?
I think, this team is going to change, Jackson, a lot between now and, look at like last year. Look at the first couple of weeks of the season. You had Eric Thames. He's putting the team on his back for a couple of times. Wasn't even on the postseason roster. You're going to have some guys, this team is going to have a whole different makeup. It's going to look different now than it does in September or October. You're going to see two different teams here, man. I can see the Brewers making some additions. I can see them getting another outfielder. If they want to keep Ben Gamble, fine, but I think you need to be better than him as your fourth outfielder. I just think it's going to be a team that's going to, we'll see where they are in postseason, what they do at the trading deadline. Because I think they're going to play this out now. We'll see where they stand at the trading deadline. Are they going to go out and get themselves another closer to add as that eighth inning guy next to Hader? Is Hader going to be the closer? I think there's so many questions to be answered between now and the 4th of July and then the trading deadline. And, man, there's a lot of we got a long way to go. So, I think right now they're in position, but we'll see how they retool and how injuries take their place. Because, as well as I do, Jackson, a couple of injuries can just throw your season into a tizzy.
Yes, it can. It can really derail a great season from being into a marginal one at best.
Oh, yeah. We've seen that happen with the sports teams in Wisconsin here, with the Packers, and the Bucks are going through some injuries right now. But they need some guys to stay healthy, a lot of them, and if they do, that'll be key. They need these guys, and some of these guys they need to pick up too. RC is batting 050 right now. That's not good. Aguilar's off to a little slow start, but he's hitting 181. Travis Shaw's not hitting as well as he should be hitting right now. He's hitting like 218, I think. So, some of these bats are got to turn it around a little bit too. But it's only through 1 week of the season.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And one player who you definitely would think would have to stay healthy for this team to compete is Yelich. You already mentioned him a little bit before, but he's off to a really, really hot start. I think what are you expecting? What is the outlook for Yelich this season after an absolute monster year last year?
Well, I think he's the best player in baseball. He's certainly one of the best. Is he unpitchable? No. He had a great first week, but let's not kid yourself. The guy is, he's going to make outs. We've seen he is human. All right, he's not Barry Bonds. A few years ago, he's going to make some outs, but he's also going to put the team on his back. Yeah, of course they need him to be productive this year. And remember, he made his bones second part of the season last year. He was so good from the All-Star break on that, look at different guys carry this team throughout the season. You look at June and July, those months belong to Aguilar. And then you look from July on, to the home stretch, that all belonged to Christian Yelich. But, Yelich also struggled in the postseason last year. Let's not forget that. He did not have a very good NLCS.
Exactly. It's about having the right guys step up at the right times. We're talking a lot about the lineup. You mentioned the relief pitchers, but how does the starting rotation look for this season?
Well, they have three young guys there, and the first time through, so far so good. Peralta gave them the bullpen a little cushion the other day. Gave them a little rest. They have to put their feet up on the bullpen, up there in the bullpen, because he went out there and went 100 pitches, pitched, 8 strong innings, gave the 2 hits, set down the 20 batters in a row. I think Woodruff, he pitched well on Saturday in his outing. And Sunday, you look at Burns, he gave up 3 home runs, but also, 12 strikeouts. So I think very productive. I don't think there's anybody in that rotation you can call an ace, but I think all those guys are very good. Even Zach Davies had a nice outing after struggling in the first inning Monday in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that might hold the Brewers back in the postseason or later in the year if they don't have that certifiable ace?
Well, time will tell. The whole key is the bullpen, though. I mean, if the bullpen is strong, the bullpen was so strong last year, you overcame Zach Davies and Chase Anderson not even making it on the postseason roster and patching things together. So, we'll see how that goes. But, I mean, depending, maybe somebody emerges as the ace. I think we were too quick last year, Jackson, or 2 years ago, to anoint Chase Anderson an ace. When I heard him being called Ace Anderson, I was cringing because it's like, man, let's give this guy more of a sample size than a half a season.
Exactly. So I just kind of want to wrap this up by asking, in your opinion, what do you think is the best and worst case scenario for this Brewers team in 2019?
Well, best, I think they can win the World Series. I mean, am I wrong on that? Jackson, am I wrong to think that the Brewers can win the World Series?
I'm looking at the standings right now, and they certainly are definitely one of the big contenders.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if they were 1-6, you flip that around, I think they could win the World Series. I think the worst case scenario, well, of course, they missing out. And again, let's not get too excited or too down on some of these teams after 1 week of the season. It's easy to overreact in baseball. But, I like the way they played through the first week, and they're winning these one-run games. But you have to keep going back to it. Let's see where we are. Let's see where we are around the trading deadline, 4th of July, and all the benchmarks, Labor Day, Memorial Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, my birthday in January. We'll see where they all check out. We'll see where they all check out. You get the point. I think that there's so many. It's a marathon.
Exactly.
Not a sprint. But I think, man, we're going to have a great summer again. We've had 2 good summers in a row. And the one thing the Brewers haven't been able to do in their history is sustain success. Well, this is their chance right here.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview today.
When are we going to do this again?
Yeah, we definitely have to.
Well, let me get your take. All the way out of Atlantic City, New Jersey, home of King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
Am I right? King Kong Bundy? Kong Bundy. I'm about to do an avalanche on my bed right here.
There you go.
Tell me, what's their best case scenario, Brewers?
I think you're right on. I think you're right on with the whole World Series projection. I'm looking at that division. I'm looking at the other teams in the National League, and here. I'm actually out of Philadelphia. My number's from Atlantic City, but we know the Phillies are.
Oh, you're in Philly.
Yeah, so it's a big time here in Philadelphia, but I do recognize that the Phillies, I think, are a piece or two away from really competing. And I just look at the rest of the National League, and I think, man, and I look through that Brewers lineup, and they look like the team to beat in my mind in the National League.
Let me tell you something about Philadelphia. I was there in 2001, covered the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. And one thing I noticed about sports talk in Philadelphia, when the Sixers would beat the Bucks in a game, everybody, including the hosts and the callers, man, they were all high on the Sixers. Oh, the Sixers are going to go on and win the NBA title. But when they lost, oh, man, it was the ship was sinking. Mm-hmm. So it's either all or nothing for those Philly fans out there.
Exactly. Yeah, Philadelphia is notorious for just overreactions to anything, basically. God.
And both ways, winning or losing.
Oh, certainly.
Winning or losing. But I'm telling you, I think, Jackson, this Brewer season, I think a big double thumbs up from the morning host here in Milwaukee, man. We're going to enjoy the ride. Can you see the games out there? Do you got the package? How do you see the games?
I have ESPN Plus, and that gets a lot of the games. I'm probably going to buy the MLB package for the summer, though. I'm just super excited for this year.
Yeah, I think that package, once the season gets underway, doesn't it reduce a little bit? Doesn't it get a little cheaper?
Yeah, that's what I usually kind of do, like wait a little bit, because it's still early in the season. But as you wait a couple weeks or so, then they reduce it and get a nice deal.
Yeah. I get it out here. I got to watch the Cubs. I'm just enjoying. I don't know what I'm enjoying more, the Brewers' success or the Cubs just stepping all over themselves with this bullpen and walking guys and committing 6 errors in a game, man. Yeah, that's just as entertaining as the Brewers' 6-1 start.
It honestly is. I think were they playing the Braves either last night or the other night, and I was watching that game and just shaking my head looking at the Cubs. I
mean, they play the Braves again tonight, and I think if the Braves. You realize this weekend series with the Cubs, there's a possibility if the Brewers sweep the Cubs. Now, okay, I'm just looking pie in the sky. Mm-hmm. The Brewers could be 7.5 games out ahead of the Cubs through 10 days of the season. I mean, this is a big series for Chicago. I mean, it's a big one for Milwaukee too. But if the Brewers, if the Cubs come in here 4.5, 3.5 out, the Brewers could put some distance already between themselves and the Cubs. We're not even the tax day yet.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. The Cubs 4 games back from the Brewers. Yeah, you get a couple wins in that series, and there's some distance.
Yeah, and but again, you just want to win 2 or 3. If you can win 2, if you sweep, you take that. But these are not going to be easy games. Don't sleep on the Cubs just yet, man. They're they got a good manager. They got some talent on that team. And I think that, this is going to be a fun series this weekend at Miller Park.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun season in general, too.
You've got a player. We got a hot season coming up here, man. The Brewers, I think here in Milwaukee, being one of the smallest markets in pro sports, don't get a lot of national attention. But, I think it's kind of cool here in Milwaukee. This is the first time I can recall where the Milwaukee Bucks got the best team in the NBA record-wise. And the Brewers, they went to Game 7 of the NLCS, and because for years and years and years we've had some bad teams here, both of them. But this is kind of owed this for all the years that the Brewers and the Bucks have either been mediocre or in no man's land, or they've been terrible. But man, both teams pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, especially with you guys have Giannis out there, like one of the best players in the NBA, if not the best, and then Yelich on the Brewers. I mean, those are two bona fide superstars.
No kidding, and there hadn't been superstars in this city for a long time. But we got two MVP. I mean, if Giannis wins the MVP in the NBA, he got 2 MVPs within a mile of each other. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Again, a big thank you to Chuck for coming onto the podcast. Had a great time talking with him. Make sure to check out for the Brewers this season. They're definitely going to be one of the MLB's best teams. And also check out for Chuck's stuff down in the description on any platform you're listening on. You can go down there and check out his Twitter handle. I have a link to that, so you can go follow him with some cool Brewers takes he has. Also, you can go check him out on 105.7 The Fan if you're in Milwaukee. If you're not, I have another link where you can go kind of look up his stuff and check it out there as well. So a big thank you to Chuck for coming onto the show, and I'll definitely make sure to have him on throughout the baseball season. And that will do it for this episode of the Jackson Neill Sports Podcast. Remember, go check out jacksonneill.podcast.com. That's where you can find all of these sports episodes, the episodes for my music podcast, as well as Anything Goes with Jackson Neill, my long-form interview podcast. Some cool interviews coming up there. More than just musicians. We're just going to start branching out soon, so check out for that. Also, if you really like this content, head over to Patreon and become a subscriber. There you can get access to bonus content if you subscribe to this podcast on there. There's a sample bonus content. Basically, it's just a couple extra questions from all the interviews I do, plus an extra sports segment each month and an extra segment for my music podcast where I discuss my favorite album. So if you're a big fan of the podcast, go over to Patreon and subscribe on there. Also, down in the description, a lot of stuff down there, are links to my social media accounts at JacksonNeill20 on Instagram and Twitter. Go give me a follow there. I like to think that I produce some pretty cool content, but I might be a little biased. Well, that's everything I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you all next time.